Donald Trump attorney and former mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani, has made a claim that he is on Donald Trump's impeachment defense team for his upcoming Senate trial. Now, the New York Post says that Trump reps beg to differ, and we'll get to that in a second. And then we will talk exactly about what Rudy's defense strategy looks like. But let's take a look from the National Press Secretary, J. Hogan Gidley, who says the statement is that President Trump has not yet made a determination as to which lawyer or law firm will represent him for the disgraceful attack on our Constitution and democracy known as the impeachment hoax. We will keep you informed. I found impeachment hoax to be a pretty interesting sort of branding attempt by Donald Trump. And if you know much about Trump or have observed his presidency, he is very good at branding and marketing things in simple ideas. He wants the idea that this impeachment is phony. Now, it's not to say that the impeachment isn't happening, because the impeachment is definitely happening, and Donald Trump has not denied that in any sort of way. He's suggesting that the impeachment itself is a hoax. It's a sham. It is not a proper impeachment. And there's a couple reasons for that. The first one is that Donald Trump's trial, his Senate trial for the impeachment, will likely not happen until after he is already out of office and Joe Biden is inaugurated. So there is a weird sort of idea that they're going to be trying to try him for impeachment even though he is out of office. He will already, the impeachment's goal will already be accomplished in that way. But of course, there is the second step, which is attempting to prevent Donald Trump from running for office ever again. But they still have to get that first vote out of the way, which would be a 2/3 majority in the Senate, which would require 17 Republicans to turn on Donald Trump and to actually impeach him. And I personally think that's a little bit of the strategy of waiting so long into Joe Biden's term to actually have the impeachment trial, is the hope that Donald Trump will fall out of favor with Republicans and their base, and they can use these 100 days to make political attacks on Trump and weaken the resolve of his allies. That's just my opinion. I would love your opinion in the comment section about any of this. Tell me what you think about the impeachment. Is it a hoax? Is it real? Is it all just a political attack? What do you think about Giuliani being on the defense team, which we're going to get back to in just a second? And then what do you think about Giuliani's proposed defense? Okay, so this statement, though, it just says they haven't made a determination as to which lawyer or law firm will represent Trump. But Rudy Giuliani claims he's on the impeachment defense team. He's not saying that he's actually the one who will be representing Donald Trump, and he says he is working on the defense for it right now. That can technically be on the team, and though the statements are mildly ambiguous, I think New York Post goes a little too far in saying that the Trump rep begs to differ on this one, because there's not really a difference here, unless Rudy is completely off of the defense team and being ignored. And there are reports about a rift between Rudy and Trump growing, but Rudy Giuliani doesn't seem to have heard those reports, because he seems to still be in full support of the president. All right, let's take a look at what Rudy's talking about for his defense, though, if indeed he is working on it. Now, these are not my statements. YouTube, I do not believe any of the statements of Rudy Giuliani. Please send help. There are certain things that Rudy says that I am not allowed to talk about or endorse on YouTube. You guys can certainly tell me again in the comments what you think about it, but I am going to be quoting Rudy Giuliani here. All right. So, Rudy says they basically claim that anytime Trump says voter fraud, or I do, or anybody else, we're inciting to violence, that those words are fighting words because it's totally untrue. He said, well, if you can prove that it's true, or at least true enough so it's a legitimate viewpoint, then they are no longer fighting words. Now, a couple things here. Trump is not on trial for fighting words. He's on trial for incitement to insurrection. And this really matters, because incitement to insurrection is a crime designated at this point by Congress in an impeachment hearing. This is not a violation of a federal statute, though there are federal statutes that have similar sort of ideas behind them and even similar language. Congress is prosecuting in an impeachment, which is not a legal violation, but a political violation. So you can't really go by like existing standards. It's really going to come down to what Congress wants it to be and what they want the crime to be. Impeachment is meant to be a political process because if a president betrayed the trust of the populace, but technically didn't break the law, the founders still wanted a way to remove them from office. That's why they're not actually, when they're impeached and they're convicted on impeachment, that's why they're not criminally convicted, because they're entirely different legal standards. So that being said, everything that I'm saying has to be couched in this idea that there isn't a standard here other than what Congress actually wants, what the Senate actually wants. Okay? So, but I want to point out that Rudy Giuliani seems to have some mix-ups, and this might be why the White House is reluctant to say that he is the one actually doing the impeachment defense, because Rudy wasn't very successful in his attempts to overturn the election through the legal process. Now, arguably, their goal was just to get the word out and to spread popularity and publicity about the idea that the election was illegitimate. And if that was the case, they did a very, very good job. Maybe not good enough, but a very good job, because a lot of people kind of adhere to that idea. And there are still lots of unanswered questions. However, the problem is those questions are unanswered because no court ended up looking into them in any real adversarial way that we would hope to get in a full legal process. So that's what I mean when I say Rudy wasn't very successful. He did not get the election overturned or any states to decertify their election results through the legal process. But the other reason they may not want to announce it is because fighting words and incitement are different things. Okay, so fighting words are where I come up to you and I say something to you that is so incensing that a reasonable person would have almost no other option but to fight the person who did it. And there really isn't a lot of case law on fighting words because it is an exception to the First Amendment, but it's an extremely limited exception to the First Amendment. And generally speaking, it doesn't really exist. Incitement is different, and the tests for it are different as well. In Brandenburg versus Ohio, they kind of flushed out the sort of Supreme Court approach to incitement to violence. Incitement to violence is where you say something encouraging or inducing someone to commit a criminal act. And then there's a reasonable expectation that that act can imminently occur and will occur based on what is being said. You have to intend to induce someone to commit a crime. That's incitement. Fighting words is where I come up to you and I insult you in such an egregious way, or I challenge your wife's honor or something like that, to the point where you are compelled to throw fists at me. It's almost like an assault with words that you're then defending against. And those words become unprotected speech at that point. But they're not the same thing. And truthfulness isn't necessarily a defense to fighting words. Like if I come up to you and intend to cause you to hit me by saying a bunch of truthful but really nasty things, that in theory could still be fighting words. And when I point this out, like fighting words is so limited as to almost not exist anymore. Okay? So I don't even want to get into examples. YouTube will hate me because of what you have to say to cross the line into getting someone to hit you. So let's just put fighting words aside. Rudy is talking about using the claim that voter fraud is a true thing to negate the idea of incitement. And there is some merit to that sort of defense. And especially so in the case of this Senate trial where there isn't a legal standard to go with. That's kind of again, that's why I'm trying to couch all of this, is because this is a Senate hearing. It's not a legal trial. And so Rudy can raise whatever defense he wants, and he doesn't have a legal standard to get in the way. But fighting words isn't the right sort of thing. And I think this kind of jumbling of ideas might be why Rudy isn't the best guy for the job personally. Although maybe he is, because he's very popular and he is he's been a big supporter of Donald Trump. That's why I'd like to know what you guys think. Please drop a comment down below. I hope you learned something about fighting words and incitement and how those are different things, but it will certainly be interesting to watch the upcoming impeachment drama, which the Democrats do intend to drag out pretty much as long as possible because it's really the only way they make news. So, anyway, drop a comment down below, hit like, hit subscribe if you like this legal content, and we will talk very soon. Peace. Peace.